Hello, I'm delighted to be speaking to Sally and Suranne today about Gentleman Jack, which is fantastic. I've seen the first episode, it's great. But I think the best place to start really would be with a clip so that you can all meet Anne Lister for the first time. So can we play the first clip, please?
I want to go watch it. I'm going to go sit over there. I want to watch it.
Suranne, what kind of driving skills do you need for something like that?
You need to be sat in front of a car that you're actually driving and there's no horses. So there was a lot of whip action. I was taught a lot of whip action, but actually you'd been on set all day and then you brought me on because you were doing all the first bits, and then you brought me on and I kind of just clambered up and down that carriage like it was my carriage. For some reason, I was able to... I just got on with it, didn't I?
Yeah.
I felt like it was yours.
I felt like it was mine, yeah. So I think by that point, we'd been filming for a good month or so, longer maybe. And I was in the rhythm of Anne Lister. So I was quite physical. I was like, yeah, let's do this. Give me the horse, give me the whip. I'm good to go.
Sally, this isn't quite the opening scene of the series, but it's the first time that we meet Anne.
Yeah, it's our introduction to Anne Lister.
Why choose that? What does that say about Anne?
I always think very long and hard about entrances. Entrances are very important. It's like you only get one chance to make a first impression. So it was really important to introduce Anne Lister as someone extremely unusual. It's like, for me, it was like the passenger landing the aeroplane. Anne Lister driving the high flyer, and we know that she could drive. She told a friend that she could drive stagecoaches, or mails as they were called then.
Yeah.
So we know a bit of poetic license there, but only a bit because we know that she could do that. We know that she was a very capable. Capable at many things, but certainly she could drive horses like that.
If a little nauseating for the passengers by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Well, I would think I think whoever would be driving it would probably be nauseating in those days.
I remember hearing the stunt woman had gone up the curb and it was a mistake. And I remember hearing that Sally had gone, that's it, that's what we want. So then she had to repeat this thing, repeat the mistake.
It was quite... I'd shot a scene similar to that before in a previous Into Walk Invisible, and they wouldn't let me put 20 people on the carriage, and I wanted as many people as I could on top of the carriage. So we had long conversations with the stunt people about whether we could legally do that or not and how to achieve it. And when we went round that corner, Karen, the stunt driver, I mean, she's a really fantastic horsewoman. She drove the carriage that the hearse when Richard III was reburied. So she's a very, very prestigious horsewoman. And she was all for it. But Angie, the script supervisor, she said it was going to fall over that time. It was literally going as it went over that bump. But you did actually really... I mean, it was being pulled by a Range Rover, but you were up there, didn't you?
Yeah.
Don't know if we should be telling people the trade secret.
It was so high up. I'd have been scared to do that even. It was quite and jumping down like that.
Yeah.
But you were owning things, weren't you, by that point? You were Anne Lister.
I was used to jumping and I had my different corset on at that point.
So how many courses did you have?
Well, so because as you may see in other clips or as you watch the series, she does a lot of walking, she does a lot of jumping, she climbs up things, she's very, very physical. But I started to get welts, because underneath all that costume there's the corset, and then we built on top, and I had so many clothes on, and the summer was very hot. And so this corset, I started to get welts here and welts down the bottom, because you shouldn't behave like Anne Lister behaves whilst wearing a corset. So our designer, Tom Pye, who is predominantly a theatre opera designer, said, our ballet dancers have power neck corsets. And I said, that sounds great, I want one of those. I didn't know what it was, but it sounded great. And it basically gives you leeway here so that you can bend and stretch and do all the things that I do as Anne Lister, like ripping up trees. At one point, she pulls a fir tree out of her own garden, which is quite something. So once I got the better corset, I was good.
So you had to have the costume redesigned to do all the amazing things that she did.
Yeah. Went to a chiropractor, got a new corset, I was sorted.
It's glamorous filming, isn't it? Sally, you directed the scene. You directed four of the eight episodes. It gives some sense of the scale of the production. It's a period drama. There's animals. I know there's everything you're not supposed to do for a kind of easy life. So how did you get on with that big, massive production?
Well, I have a very capable first assistant, Nathan, but even he admitted that on that day and another day when we had a lot of carriages and horses, that he was scared, and he'd never done anything quite on that scale before. I mean, there were a lot of, because it's a big production, and there were lots of things we were all doing for the first time, because you'd never driven horses like that before, had you?
No.
We were just having to sort of embrace the challenge and run with it, and it was exciting. It was. I always felt like Anne Lister was smiling down on us, though, because these things, however challenging they were, they always seemed to go very well at the end of the day. So
was that the one where there was supposed to be a cow?
There was a cow. Yeah, it ran off. Yeah, we did have a stunt cow, but it wasn't playing ball, and I think it was frightened. I think we had something like 10 horses on set that day.
It's a lot of horses.
So yeah, I don't know if it all went too fast, but there were 2 high flyers. Both have 4 horses pulling each of them, and they crossed in the street. And then there was another horse rearing up. That's 9. There was another one as well, and a cow. Yeah.
And a cow, but the cow did a runner. The cow was camera shy.
Yeah.
Let's go all the way back to the beginning of Gentleman Jack, because Sally, for you, this has been a kind of passion project, and it's been an idea that you've had for 20 years or more. How did you first come across Anne Lister?
Well, I grew up in Halifax, so I was always aware of Shibden Hall. It was somewhere I always visited as a child, but I didn't become aware of Anne Lister. Probably till sometime in the 90s, I became aware that this extraordinary woman had owned Shibden Hall. I can't even use the word extraordinary. I just became aware that somebody intriguing and unusual had owned Shibden Hall, and I couldn't find things out about it. This is before the internet. It's before you could just, order a book like that on Amazon. And I asked a friend of mine, I was living down south at the time, so I asked a friend of mine who still lived there if she could do some finding out for me, if she could go into the archives, go up to Shibden, just find out a little bit more about who this woman was. And this is my friend Tabitha, and it transpired that Tabitha's mum had been at Greenham Common with Jill Liddington, and Jill had written a book about Anne Lister, so Tabitha just said, I'll send you Jill's book. And so it was when I read Jill's book, Female Fortune, that I just got this huge hit of who Anne Lister was. And it was, I couldn't believe, I'd always felt I'd had a connection to Shibden. I love Shibden Hall. It's the most sublime place on earth. And then to find out that this extraordinary woman had owned it it was wonderful. And straight away I really felt that I wanted to dramatise this woman's life. That she's such an extraordinary woman. There's almost too much to say about her. So I pitched it probably first to a broadcaster in about 2003, and no one was interested at all. But it never went away. So I, went away and wrote other shows and that sort of thing. But I was always working on the diaries. I was always going back to the diaries. I was always doing my own little bits of transcription, trying to develop it again. And then I think it was after Happy Valley, Charlotte at the BBC asked me what I wanted to do next. And it's the first time I'd been asked what I want to do next. And so I think I pitched about 5 ideas, and she said, what do you want to do most? And I said, Anne Lister. And that's how it finally got greenlit. And
you've written shows with Suranne at least three times before. What made you think that Suranne was your Anne Lister? Because you've had this idea of her for so long.